how did you get started as a reseller?
Well, uh, my start as a reseller probably didn't come the same way that a lot of people got their start. I didn't wake up one day and just decide, hey, I'm going to start reselling stuff around the house or any of that stuff. My start as a reseller came out of necessity. You know, long before I became a reseller on eBay or Poshmark or Depop or any of that stuff, I used to resell a lot of stuff. And one of those things was drugs and stolen stuff and stuff like that. And, you know, before I was 18 years old, I had been arrested several times. And from the time I was 18 until I was 20, I was arrested probably more than 20 times, in and out of jail, in and out of rehabs, in and out of, uh, all kinds of different places in my life. And that didn't stop until I finally made it to prison. And that's when I realized, hey, things are kind of serious now. And I got a 4-year sentence and went to Brushy Mountain, which is one of the most notorious prisons in the United States. And I used to lay there in my bunk and just think, man, when I get out, I'm going to really get a job and I'm going to do good and I'm going to turn my life around, because all I had been good at up to that point was just disappointing people and letting people down. And I didn't want to disappoint anybody or let anybody down anymore. And so I really knew that I needed to do something different. And so I got out of prison, and that's when I started on the hunt for a job. I was 24 years old when I got out of prison, and I put in applications everywhere I could think of. And one of the places that hired me was a fitness center, and I was cleaning equipment at nighttime. And after about 2 weeks, they came to me and they said, "Hey, we just found out that you're a convicted felon, and we're going to have to let you go." Well, it was like that with every job that I ended up trying to get. Nobody wanted to work with me. Nobody wanted to hire me. Nobody trusted me. Nobody wanted to give me a shot. And it was really disappointing, because when I first got out, I was told that my debt to society had been paid, but society had different ideas. And so obviously my debt wasn't paid, and I still paid for that debt right now. To this day, I still pay. And I've been out for almost 20 years. And so the thing is, I didn't get a good start. So whenever I kept getting rejected from all these jobs, I decided, you know what? I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get a business degree. So I went to college and I started down the path to get a business degree. And they told me, hey, if you just stay like an extra year, you can get an accounting degree too. So I was like, cool, let's do it. And so I did really good. I excelled in every class that I took. I made the dean's list, the president's list, and everything in between. In all my classes, I did excellent. Well, I was about 10 credits short of graduating. I was going to graduate within 6 months, and all of a sudden, something really tragic happened in my life. And uh, 12 days before Christmas in 2011, my sister and my nephew were both murdered. Somebody came into my sister's apartment uh, and murdered her. And so that put everything on hold for me, because the grief was just too much to bear, and I couldn't even drag myself out of bed for a long time. And that's when my life really began to change, and not for the better. I lost a lot of friends. I lost a lot of family. I lost everybody that was around me. And that was a big change for me, because I was used to being surrounded and had support and had everything going for me. But, you know, and I think until you really find yourself in that situation where you're the one that loses somebody to a murder like that, it's really hard to say what you would do. And I didn't act the best way. I didn't handle it the best way. I still don't, to a point, to this day. Um, and so I lost everybody, and so I had to rebuild. And it took me, I think, a year later before I got back in school. But I did go back to school, and I finished those degrees, and I got both of those degrees, and went out and tried to start a career. You know, and what I found was the same exact scenario that I faced when I got out of prison. I couldn't get anybody to give me a chance again. I would submit resumes, like, thousands of resumes to different places, and even stuff I was way overqualified for wouldn't even give me a shot. Uh, so I had to rebuild again. And so I would work odd jobs, like I worked at a kitchen as a grill cook. I worked as a chef at a catering company. Uh, I worked as a manager at Taco Bell. I mean, I've done a little bit of everything. I've worked in several warehouses, and that's the only types of places that I could really get to actually give me a chance in life. And I did those jobs for several years, and I just hate them. I hate them with a passion. The clocking in, clocking out, bosses breathing down your back. The politics, the drama, and everything else. But I mean, I just did what I had to do because I had three kids to support and a family, and I couldn't let them down because I made that promise to myself when I was sitting in that prison cell that when I got out, I wasn't going to go back to selling drugs. I wasn't going to go back to stealing cars. I wasn't going to go back to the life that I had before, and I wasn't going to let anybody down anymore. So I did what I had to do to get by. Well, 2023 comes, and wake up one day, I'm out in the garden, and I get a phone call that my son, my oldest son, I got a phone call that my oldest son, man, this is hard.
Would you like me to pause it?
No. I got a phone call that my oldest son had been killed in a car wreck, and there I was back again, and back in the same spot over again, and having to rebuild again because everything had shut down in my life again, and I didn't quite know what I was going to do with myself. So it just seemed like this reoccurring pattern of build, get broke down, rebuild, get broke down, build, get broke down, rebuild, get broke down, and just stuck in this loop. And so I go back to work at a warehouse, and I was fortunate enough to get a job at Amazon in one of their warehouses, and I was doing pretty good for a little while, but then again, something else happens, and I re-injure my shoulder. I've had 3 shoulder surgeries in the past 6 years, and I went to the doctor this past July, and he told me, your shoulder's just too damaged to continue doing this warehouse work that you're doing, and you're going to have to get a job sitting down at a computer or doing something else. And I'm just not cut out for doing anything else. Sitting at a computer or uh, taking orders from bosses and stuff like that. Everything I've had go on in my life between my sister and my son, the trauma from prison, just everything. Uh, I'm just not cut out for that type of environment to sit around and take orders from people and be involved in the office drama and all that stuff. That's just not me. So, uh, I sit down and I thought about it, and I thought, what am I going to do now? What comes now? Um, and the thing that I kept going back to was, we've got this little reselling side hustle that we've been doing for the last several years, and we got into reselling. It's actually a funny story. I got on this auction website, and I was just looking for stuff that I like to collect, and I was just going to try to pick up a few things for a few dollars and see if I could find something cool. And ended up bidding on this these items in this basement. Well, that's what I thought it was anyway. I thought it was just a few items that we were going to get, and ended up we got the whole side of a basement, and we had to make about 4 or 5 trips out there to get everything. I mean, I was totally blown away. I'd only paid like maybe $80 for this whole side of a basement, and I was just blown away by the things that we were able to get for so cheap. And so I thought, back when I was 17 or something, I used to sell pirated software on eBay. Let's just go to eBay and see if I can sell this baseball glove. Well, it turned out that the baseball glove I had was pretty valuable. It was like $75. And I thought, man, I just got my money back basically with just one item sale. And so I thought, man, this is pretty cool. So I started listing the other stuff, and I didn't have any kind of store or anything like that. I was just using my name, just the name I had created at first on eBay, and using the 250 listings. And I was just listing the stuff that we weren't going to keep from that basement. And that turned into a reseller side hustle, basically, like where we would go out to thrift stores every once in a while, and we would just buy stuff. We'd buy hoodies, or we'd buy hats, or we'd buy just all kinds of miscellaneous stuff. And it was fun, and it is fun. And so I just kept going back to that, that experience right there that got me started, and remembering how much fun I had. And I've never had that kind of fun at any job I've ever had. So while I would go out and work these warehouse jobs and places like that, I've got this really amazing woman who has really held everything together for us, and she kept the business going, and I'll just forever be grateful. I'll forever be grateful for everything she's done for me personally in my life, and for keeping our business going while I was just trying to hold everything else down. Um, so, that's when I decided, we're going to hit this thing head on. And we talked about it, and we just said, you know what? This is what we're going to do. We're going to hit this thing with everything we've got. We're going to put everything we've got into it, because we've done so good as part-time people. Why not just make this a full-time business? And that's how Landfill Savior was born. I created, sit down, and I thought of several different names. And what I really love doing is finding items that are going to go to the landfill if I don't save them. So, that's what all of us people that have reselling businesses really do. And that's the thing that a lot of people that don't like resellers don't understand. Like, if we didn't buy this stuff, it's going to end up in the landfill. Nobody's going to get it. But what we get to do is something I'm very passionate about, is giving people back their childhood memories. All the time we come across stuff that people get from us, and they're so grateful that they were able to find it. And so some of the messages we get, and some of the feedback that we get is just unbelievable. It just really it means something, you know. And so that's it. That's how Landfill Savior was born, and that's where we're taking it. Is we're going to go full time with this thing and hit it with everything we've got, because we don't have any other options. There's no more warehouse job. There's no more fast food job. There's no more this or that or anything else. And I've gave up a long time ago. My degrees are too old now to even consider using them for any type of career. I'm getting too old to start a career now anyway. So reselling it is, and this is what we're going to do.
When you look back at the challenges you've overcome, what specific skill or mindset you gained in those tough times do you apply every day as a reseller?
One of the things that prison really taught me was how to be resourceful. And I think that's a very important skill in the reselling business. Is you have to be resourceful. You have to learn how to use the resources around you, or you're not going to make it. You've got to be able to learn and adapt. And if you don't do those things, then you're going to fail. And so, they say everything happens for a reason. And I guess maybe there was a reason I went to prison was, not only to save my life, because the path I was headed down, it wasn't a good one. And I probably wouldn't be sitting here even talking to you today if that path would have continued. So I think that it taught me how to be very resourceful and to be able to spot the gold in everything, because when you're in a situation like that, everything's doom and gloom, and you look for those bright spots that can really take you away. And so, I think that I'm able to spot treasures where nobody else that's never been in that situation would be able to. I think that, the loss of my sister and my son have taught me patience. That it's not going to happen overnight. Um, it's a process, and it's just like grieving. Um, you're just not going to get over it like you stubbed your toe and it hurts for a few minutes, and then it just goes away. Uh, you know, Murder and death are something that sticks with you for forever, and so I think that I've learned a lot of patience, and I've learned how to overcome adversity uh, more so than a lot of people that haven't been in those situations. So, you know, there's a lot of lessons that I've taken away from those situations that I've applied to the reselling business that have really paid off, because, when you're beginning something like this, it can be easy to say, well, that didn't work. I guess I'm just not good at it. I guess I'll just quit. And you can just walk away. And I think that, when you've been at rock bottom, it's not a fun place to be, and you never want to be back there again. And so I think that is your driving force to keep moving forward and keep trying and keep getting better every day, because that's your only option. If you don't keep doing those things, then your only option is to go right back to rock bottom. And if you've ever been there, it's not a fun place. So I think that all the things I've been through have taught me valuable skills to survive in this reselling business.
How did the courage to face your personal past fuel your business startup?
Well, one day I just kind of decided, I can lay here and be overcome with grief and let the bank foreclose on my house and lose everything I own and, disappoint everybody again, be homeless, be out on the street with nothing. I can do that. It'd be easy to do. I'm a survivor. I could survive in that environment if I wanted to. I don't want to at all, which is why I do the things that I do every single day. So one day I just had to pull myself up, and as cold hearted as it might sound, I just said, you know what? My sister's not here anymore, and neither is my son, and neither are several of my friends that I grew up with, and there's nothing I can do about that. But what I can do something about is the future for my kids. I can do something about the future for my woman, and I can do something about my future. And I just had to make that decision that that's what I was going to do. Is I was going to put everything into the business that I possibly can, and I'm going to go at it full force. I grew up as a three-sport athlete, and I was always the leader of my team, and as that, I feel like the leader of my family as well. And if I let my family down, it's the same as letting my team down, and I never wanted to do either. And so, um, I think really just having the courage to get up every single day and put one foot in front of the other is uh, about the best that I can do. But being able to sit down and learn and grow and adapt to everything around me, like I've said before, is just what fuels the business growth, and what makes us keep growing is um, just getting up every day and putting forth my best effort. And one thing I really realized was that this business, this reselling business, has given me a new lease on life. It's given me a new start. It's not just about making money. It's about being able to have something that is yours. It's about having something you're in charge of, you're in control of, and just having the courage to even do that without all the other stuff is amazing for anybody to do. To just say, you know what, I'm going to take that chance. I'm going to step out on a limb here, and I'm going to make something work, because I'm not going to go make somebody else rich anymore. I'm not going to use my skills for that. I'm going to be in charge of who I am and what I do every single day. And I think, just having the courage to do that is what will make anybody successful in business. If you just decide to stay consistent, not just do something every once in a while, you're not going to survive as a business. Like, what if Walmart just opened every once in a while? Do you think they'd be successful? No, probably not. Definitely not. Definitely not. You've got to approach this thing in that same kind of way. You can't just say, well, I'm just going to do something every once in a while. No, you've got to do it like it's your job. Like when I worked at Amazon, we had a rate that we had to meet every single hour. We had to pick 350 items out of pods every single hour. You have to take that same approach when you're in this reselling business. You have to say, all right, I'm going to take 20 pictures this hour of items that I'm going to list. Because if you don't, you're going to end up with a huge, what they call a death pile. That's where stuff just sits around not being listed. And you end up just looking like a hoarder because your stuff ain't selling because it's not listed. So you have to be consistent. You have to take consistent actions. And I think that, just being able to wake up every day and do those things, the things that matter to your business and the things that matter to the growth of your business, I think that's what will ultimately make you successful in this business.
You've mentioned that reselling is more than just making money. It's about building a new life. What does this business represent to you today? And what's the message you'd hope your story sends others who are struggling to find a fresh start?
Reselling to me is about way more than just making money. It's about, being in control of my own life. It's about being in control of my own destiny. It's about building something from the ground up that my kids can, do if they ever find themselves in a bad situation. They'll know how to do it. It's something I can teach them. It's something I can pass down to them. I've got a hell of a collection here. I'm going to die one day, and I'm probably going to have a whole lot of stuff left on the shelf. So they're going to have to do something with it. And, I'd rather them just be able to pick up where I left off and be able to do something with it and grow it and, use it as a fallback plan, if nothing else, because in this life, nothing's guaranteed. Your job even is not guaranteed. And so to me, this business is about way more than making money. You can wake up and make money all you want to, but if you're not learning something along the way, then you're wasting your time because the money's going to run out eventually. And you want to actually build a skill set. Like that's one thing that people don't understand about this business is it takes a whole unique skill set that other jobs don't require. There's skills involved like problem solving, critical thinking, customer service, things like that you need to learn to be good at. But learning how to spot a good item, how to price that item, how to ship that item, how to deal with problems that pop up. Those are all things that you have to learn that are unique to this business. And if you're just waking up every day to make money and you're not learning how to do those things along the way, you're not in a business. You're just reselling stuff out of your closet, basically. You have to learn how to control your inventory. You have to learn how to control your cash flow. I mean, there's just so many different aspects of this business that people really need to sit down and take the time to learn in order to be successful. One of the things that I hope that my story really reaches out and grabs somebody is that, all the hell that I've been through, everything that I've lost in life and everything that I still go through every day. If I can do this, then you can do this. That's my true hope is that somebody watching this right now will say, you know what? if that dude can do this, I can definitely do this, because that's where I was. One of the things that people don't understand is that this reselling community is way bigger than you think it is. And it's one of the coolest communities to be part of. I mean, I follow a lot of really cool people like Resell Daddy. I learned how to do something off him, or don't be tripping, it's just flipping. I learned from her. There's several people that have influenced me in this reselling business that I love to follow, just so I can gain their knowledge. That's how you really skip the learning curve in this business. Is you find some really cool people that have been doing this for longer than you and that are better at it than you, and you follow those people, and then you get those ideas and you try them. And if they don't work for you, adapt, change, do everything I've been preaching throughout this whole interview here. Is you've got to be able to adapt. You've got to be able to change. You need to be able to test stuff. You need to be able to see what works, because without those things, like I said, all you're doing is waking up to make money. And if you're just waking up to make money, if you just want to get in this thing to make money, and that's your main motivation, you're probably going to fail. I'm just going to be bluntly honest with you. You're probably going to fail. So find some cool people to follow, whether that's me. I'll give you some ideas, or there's several hundreds of thousands of people out there that you could follow, and I highly recommend that as one of my biggest tips. Is be part of the community. Don't just sit and watch. Be part of it. It's a really open community. It's really cool. You'll find things that you didn't even know existed, and then you'll see them out in public. When you're out at the thrift store, at a yard sale, at a flea market, at an estate sale, wherever you're at, you're going to see those things, and you're going to be like, hey, so and so flipped this last week for a huge profit. I better pick this up. And it's just little things like that if you just are involved enough with the business, with what you're doing, that are going to make the difference in what you're doing. Because, like I said, there's a lot of things that you need to know. There's a lot of things that come at you all the time. You're gonna need to be able to change and all that stuff. So make sure that you're following a good community of people. Another thing is, just don't give up. Things are going to get rough. There's going to be days where you don't make sales. Hell, there's going to be weeks where you don't make sales. I mean, we've had day after day after day where we sit around and thought, when are we going to make a sale? It didn't just happen overnight, and at one point, 3 sales a day was just our goal. We wanted to make 3 sales a day, and we just thought, that would be so awesome, because that's about 100 sales a month. And if we could just move 100 things a month, then that would be really good. And that was really good once we hit that goal. It was amazing. Now we're putting stacks of packages out on the porch for the USPS to pick up, and that's amazing too. And it's just always having goals that you want to reach. If you don't set a goal, what are you aiming for? If you're not aiming for anything, what are you doing? You're just aimlessly wandering around. So I would say, find a community, set some goals, achieve those goals, crush the living fuck out of everything. Because if I can do this, you definitely can do this. Thank you for watching this interview. I really appreciate it. Make sure to like my Facebook page. Make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel. I really love to hear from you. So send me a message, leave me some comments, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Thanks for tuning in.